welcome to episode 63 of PauseCast. It is November 9th, 2017. I am Jessica Alouette, and I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Mark Hanna, I use he, him.
Welcome to the show that we do about the video games. Joining us also, Ashe.
Hey, my name's Ashe,
Hey.
and I use she, her pronouns.
PauseCast is a show about video games that we do every week. We have a little conversation about the stuff we've been playing, what's good, what's bad, all that good stuff. So
Hopefully what's good. We want to play fun games.
yeah, we normally want to play fun games, but like sometimes fun games have bad things in them.
That's true.
Like we had that issue with Persona, and how I had a bad experience with certain elements of that game. But yeah, we're hopefully going to talk about some more good stuff this week. I want to start with...
Okay, so what I've been playing this week. I've played Dying Light the Following. I've tried out Elder Scrolls Online, which I picked up after you told me it was on the cheap via the humble monthly subscription, which this is the second time now that I've done, quote, subscribe, unquote, for 1 month, basically to buy a bundle.
Yeah.
And I've also started playing The Sims 4 again, which I think is going to be my new podcast game.
Whoa.
For just listening to
Wow.
stuff. Yeah.
Well,
I haven't played it in ages, but I just sort of thought,
I
kinda
need
wanna
to know
play
what
Sims.
brought you back to The Sims 4.
I don't even know what it was. I just sort of thought, I want to play The Sims tonight. And I went through this whole big hassle of thinking, oh, that's right, I've got 2 separate Origin accounts because I'm an idiot who can't remember they've already got one when they want to buy Mass Effect. So I have one account which has Mass Effect 3 and Mass Effect Andromeda, and I have another account which has Dragon Age Inquisition, The Sims 4, and I think a couple of other smaller games. I actually got in touch with their support to be like, so can you like merge accounts? Thing is, this is weird. Apparently they can, but there's a risk that the games will somehow become corrupted and permanently unplayable. And I was like, do you mean I'll have to re-download them? And apparently not. Apparently no. That's just what happens. So I don't know what the hell kind of system they've got running, but I thought it's okay, I'll log out and in again.
I think that applies to like certain legacy games. Like I think Sims 3 used like a weird authorization that was then tied to like an account ID versus you just having an authorization for the game. It was like a separate authorization system that The Sims 3 had, and some other
maybe.
legacy games have.
I just kind of thought, because I said, I don't need to keep progress, I just kind of thought they'd be like, well, okay, take the games away from this account and add them to this account. But I'll have to log out and then again if I want to swap between Mass Effect and The Sims, which is not too common an occurrence.
No.
But yeah, it's actually, we talked about The Sims 4 really early on in the show when they added their advanced gender options when you're making Sims, and I don't think I'd returned to it since then.
Yeah, I think that's
So I got to
actually
see that for the first time.
very accurate.
Yeah, so that was cool to see, because I'd read about it before but hadn't actually played with it. And it's just, like, you know, building and kind of leaving them to their own devices. I think it's going to be a good game for me to play when I want to listen to something and do something else at the same time. Because, you know, there's no story I need to follow really closely. You literally can't tell what they're saying. It's gibberish.
Yeah.
So there's not much to miss out on if I'm multitasking. So, yeah, that was fun. I think I played that for a couple of evenings.
Nice.
But yeah, and Elder Scrolls Online as well, I tried. I haven't given up on it yet because I still want to try playing it with others. I've only played it on my own, but it's kind of a bit more of what I feared than what I hoped for, and that rather than an Elder Scrolls game you can play with your friends, it feels very much like an MMO with Elder Scrolls set dressing.
Huh.
But we'll see if it feels a lot better to me when I'm not playing on my own.
Yeah.
I
What
guess.
class did you end up going
But
with?
yeah. What's the sneaky one called again?
Oh,
They had like complicated class names. It wasn't just like warrior and rogue.
Nightblade, maybe?
Maybe something like that. I was an orc sneaky person.
Yeah, I think from what I've heard from people, it feels the most like traditional Elder Scrolls when you play like melee classes, because it seems to be like I know your block and your shield attack and stuff seem to be pretty instant.
Yeah, I was doing that, but I don't know, just the whole like activatable skills
Yeah,
and stuff felt very not Elder Scrolls, felt very MMO.
for sure.
And I mean, one of the hallmarks of Elder Scrolls since forever has been, hey, you killed a person. All of their equipment is now yours. And obviously they don't have that in the MMO.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, it wouldn't work so well in MMO, I guess. But, you know, you used to be able to, oh, I killed this person. I'm going to take all their clothes because that's not creepy. And also their sword they were using. Whereas now, it's like, okay, I've killed 50 pirates. One of them had pants. They weren't wearing those pants, but I've got them now. Okay. So, yeah, it doesn't feel as much like an Elder Scrolls game like I'd hoped. But I don't feel like I've given up on it yet, but I don't think I'll return to it for another solo session.
Mm.
And I played more of Dying Light the following, which I've played a bunch with you two, and I've now played through about the same amount with my flatmate on a separate save, which is still very good.
It's incredibly fun.
It is, isn't it? We had one bit where, so one criticism I've kind of come up with is the map doesn't feel big enough when you're driving now, but it's actually pretty fun when there's two of you, one in the back seat, one in the front, and the person in the back seat just has the map out and is directing the person who's driving. We did that for a bit, and that was actually pretty fun.
So it's like the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds kind of experience.
Oh, you do that?
Yeah, you do that. You do that with like, if you're in a buggy, you'll probably have like someone who's driving and someone who's in the back seat who will be doing some very light directing.
Yeah,
placing waypoints.
Because you can't shoot out of the back seat or anything, so it's kind of like all you can do. Oh, I mean in Dying Light.
Oh, in Dying Light. Okay, yeah. I was going to say, in Battlegrounds, you totally can shoot out the back seat.
Yeah, it feels like you should be able to, but I guess guns aren't really a huge thing in Dying Light.
No, they're like the secondary kind of focus.
Yeah. But yeah, those 3 games have been my week.
Nice.
What about you two?
Let's go to Ashe first.
Oh, no.
Ashe, what have you been playing this week?
I've been playing... I finished Wolfenstein 2. It's probably the first thing I did this week.
Nice. That's one of the old ones, right? One of the original ones?
No. Like Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus.
Oh, wait, the new one?
Yeah, like
yes.
the new one.
That makes way more sense. I'm sorry.
There have been like 10,000 Wolfenstein games. It gets pretty confusing.
Okay. It was like Wolfenstein 3D, Return to Castle Wolfenstein and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
then just regular Wolfenstein, and then it's
Of
very
course.
confusing.
Yeah. Cool, so you finished the new one.
I did. Oh my gosh, it's very good. Very, very, very good.
Nice.
I can't talk about too much, because Jess is... How far into it are you?
I am just past Roswell.
Probably.
So I'm in the section that's kind of reminiscent of the next game you've played, which is Resident Evil 7.
Right. Right.
I'm in like the farmhouse.
Yes, of course. Yeah, and Resident Evil 7 was the other one I played.
I saw like 10 seconds of that while you were playing it last week, and just like looked away, pretended it wasn't happening after that. I could not play that game.
Not a fan?
Horror, I can't do horror.
I've discovered I always said the same thing. I'm like, I can't do horror. I cannot do horror. And then I sat down and was like, hey, I've actually played a lot of horror games. So I think I'm better at dealing with it than I think.
Nice.
But yeah, Resident Evil 7 I got in I think it was a PlayStation Halloween sale for about $40, which is pretty good for a game that only came out this year. And oh my gosh, it's very, very, very good. It doesn't return the series. It's a new thing for the series. It's completely in first person. First person is very scary. Like it adds so much more tension to the game. I've played it through 3 times since I've bought it, so I think that's probably a good indication of how much I'm enjoying it.
Is it quite linear, or has it been different each time? Or
well, here's the thing: on normal and easy, it's quite linear. It's enemies are in the same place every time. Basically, it gets predictable after a while. I've just started on the hardest difficulty, which is like, oh boy, that's been an experience. Everything is, well, not everything's different, but a lot of things are different. Keys are now in the wrong place. Enemies spawn earlier and in different places. enemies move like twice the speed.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a scene that I'd never seen before. I've always been able to make it to a trapdoor in time. I've never really had much trouble with the early section of the game, but in this most recent playthrough, I got my leg cut off. So that happened.
Is it like a game over movie?
No, it wasn't even like a game over movie. Like it was the character that was chasing me with a shovel did it, and then another scene played out where he was taunting me about just having chopped my leg off, and I had to crawl for a healing item to reattach it.
Wait. You reattached your leg?
Yeah, so the healing items
It's very medically, like, it's very sanitized and, like, fine, you know, it's all good. No, it's a horror game.
It's kind of funny.
It's bad.
It's not like with staples or anything either. It's like, just pour this liquid over it and it's just reattached.
Okay. So you've got, like, magic healing fluid.
You've got your magic leg liquid.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's wild. But no, it's very, very good. If there are any horror fans out there, I definitely recommend it. Even non-horror fans, I think it's doable. It's not the scariest game I've ever played. I reckon you can get through it.
It's mostly like it relies quite a bit on, from what I've seen, kind of two things. It relies on some like fairly graphic violence and stuff that's kind of like generally disturbing, but also like a lot of tension and just like it relies less on jump scares is kind of more what I'm getting at. It actually relies on like actual literal tension and intense situations.
Yeah.
You've just described like the three things I like with games.
Yep. So for Mark, don't play Resident Evil 7.
Not for me.
Yeah, that sounds like it might be a bad time for you.
It's definitely hyped me up to play Evil Within 2.
Yeah, I've been looking at getting a copy of that more and more.
Yeah.
Did that just come out recently?
Yeah, it came out on October the 13th, which was Friday the 13th.
Oh, really?
Surprise,
recently?
surprise.
Right.
Other than that, I kind of got okay at PUBG all of a sudden.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about that. You have suddenly become this beast at PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. You have been, like, unleashed from your fucking cage. Coming out of your cage, and you're doing just fine. Like, you are crushing it lately, and talk to us a little bit more about, I guess, like, what has helped you, like, click into that game, because there was a point in which you were playing PUBG in which you were not doing so hot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's controversial
No,
of me to say.
that's accurate to say.
Yep. You weren't doing so hot at one point, but now like shit's clicked, and I want to know more about why that has been the case.
Yeah, so I think one of the main reasons is Jess and I have been playing with one of our friends, Nathan, quite a bit more, who is like quite good at the game. Nathan's very good at the game, and he's been giving me tips. He's been giving both of us tips, particularly me, since I like worse than Jess. Jess was a lot better at it than I was. And a lot of it has revolved around being more aggressive. So I think a problem I had, and a problem I think maybe a lot of other PUBG players have when they first start, is they're too I don't know if defensive is the right word, but too adverse to encounters.
Like combat averse.
Yeah.
Like not aggressive enough?
Yeah. A lot of like, oh, I hear shots from the north. Let's definitely not go north. Let's veer away from north. Or like, okay, I found some gear. Let me just try and hide out in this house and never move. And
there's definitely situations in which like that is the most appropriate response.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
like if you're in a situation where you have like just like a shotgun or just a pistol or something like that, then chasing after people who are likely better geared than you, unless you are like really confident in your abilities, is probably just going to go badly for you.
Oh, for sure. For sure. There are definitely situations where stealth and avoiding conflict and stuff is a good option. But I think the way I was playing was I played like I had a ton of hours in this game, but a lot of it was like I get to relatively high numbers, but I wasn't doing much. I get to like top 20, but I had engaged with anyone or really done anything, and then I get killed pretty instantly.
You were doing that like classic real-time strategy thing of turtling.
I don't think I'm familiar with that term.
So in real-time strategy, the turtle strategy is basically just to like create defensive structures and stuff around you, and then don't actually like try to expand outwards. You just like focus your phases on like just defending yourself. Build walls, build turrets, build whatever you need that just allows you to create a shell for you.
Right.
And the gist in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, like to adapt that analogy, would be then to like get yourself to a vantage, get yourself into a building, find the right angles, and just kind of hole up. I guess you could also just call that camping.
Yeah. Or, like, whatever you call it, that's kind of what I was doing. And then something clicked, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try and get into more active engagements. And my competency with the game has jumped up a lot since then. Like, I even won a game the other day.
Nice. There's like out of 100 players.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Was that the squad game? Yeah, it was the squad game that you just like you won that shit for us. Like you were the last. Like the situation there was kind of funny actually. We made it to the top 20 as a full squad.
Wow.
I made some foolish choices, and so did Nathan. And so we both got knocked down, and the like damage zone was closing in on us, the blue hole. So like we were screwed, leaving Ashe and 20 other people. I accidentally at that point exited spectating that game because I was a fool. And I jokingly said to Ashe, hey, don't win this while I can't watch. Sure enough.
Yeah.
Ashe did in fact win that match. I don't know precisely what went down, but like the people who had killed me were like a 4-person squad. And they all got taken down by other people. Like the field got whittled down so fast, and then it was just like Ashe and 2 other people, and she wiped them both.
Nice.
Yeah, it was kind of. I had to run across a farm field with no cover, and someone shot probably about 30 or 40 bullets at me, and they all missed. It was the most intense moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can hear the gunfire this whole time. 30 40 bullets. That would take several seconds, right?
Yeah, they must.
Yeah, it was like sustained fire, and like you were just serpentining so much.
Yeah, and you hear the bullets like whiz past your ear. It's a very terrifying sound effect in the game.
20 serpentine, zag on them.
Yeah, thank you, McElroy.
Thank you, McElroy.
But yeah, like that's been great because I felt like whenever I'd play with Jess and Nathan, or even just Jess and myself, I would contribute nothing. So it's nice to have gotten to a point where I can actually do things.
Definitely.
Also,
yeah. Congratulations
thank
on
you.
winning.
I think also apparently Brendan felt bad for me for losing for like 90 consecutive hours, and so has given me a sniper rifle every time I drop into the game.
Brendan is PlayerUnknown. Just a sidebar there, so that we understand the context of the goof. I want to talk about the games that I've been playing this week.
I want to hear
What
about
have you
them.
been playing?
I have been playing some fun stuff. I got back into Animal Crossing. Everybody. Bad news, I'm back on my bullshit. My bullshit being just like cute furries. Because I wanted a bus game. And so Animal Crossing has become my bus game of choice. Because it turns out I can just like jump into that game for like the half an hour that I have each morning on the bus and each evening on the bus where I can't really do much else. So I guess I'll just play Animal Crossing.
Yeah. It's also less homophobic than Persona 4.
Definitely less homophobic and transphobic than Persona 4. And like I still haven't gotten past those scenes. So like that's just kind of sitting there. It's not really doing anything. Yeah. Anyway, Animal Crossing is really good. It's like a nice chill way for me to start my morning out. And like, I think, was it last episode that I talked about the appeal of like, it was one of the recent episodes, I believe. And I talked about the appeal of like Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley and the games that kind of offer these like repetitive tasks, for lack of a better word, or like
We had a question in the inbox about that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and yeah, that's the context in which that came up in. Yeah, like it's just like very charming. It's very nice. I've been gradually making improvements to my town, like since I let it kind of languish. Like I had a town kind of all set up, named Kakapo. I designed a little flag for it too. I should post a screenshot of that, and I'll link that in the show notes. But the town's named Kakapo. I did a little flag, and I've been kind of just like gradually doing things like I have a small orchard of valuable fruits. I have several kind of flower gardens all around the town. The shoe and sock salesman, Kix, has moved into the town. So now he's got a shop, there's a club. Like, I've been making all these, like, improvements to the town. It's felt so good because I'm just, like, constantly building towards new things. And, you know, just, there's furries everywhere, and they're all really cute.
How did they respond to seeing you again after, like, a year?
Ooh. Yeah, I had one particular villager who I talked to, and they were like, "Hey, what's up? I haven't seen you in 12 months." I'm like, "No, you can't do this to me."
It's very passive aggressive.
No, it totally isn't like.
I know
like
it's not meant that
in
way,
the
but
game.
it sounds that way.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, hey, like, how have you been? I haven't seen you in like 12 months. Like they're trying their best to be very pleasant, but they were like it's like, oh, they're feigning concern for me.
The thing about Animal Crossing furries is they will just drag you.
Oh God.
All the time.
Drag me through the mud.
Like Animal Crossing Pocket, I couldn't sleep. And I had like 5 different furries tell me, "Oh, hey, you're still up. You're still awake at this hour. Why are you still up? You need to go to bed." I'm like, you're a fucking frog. You can't talk to me like that. But
I got told off in Dying Light the Following for not taking breaks, I think.
Really?
It's just it's a line of NPC dialogue that probably happens no matter what. But they were like, "Yeah, you should take a break every 20 minutes." I'm like, I've been playing 3 hours, shut up.
Yep. Video games. It's very kind of like, it's kind of wild to think that like technically it is recommended that you take a break every 20 minutes when you're playing video games. And like everybody ignores that. Nobody listens to that.
When you start a Monster Hunter game, it gives you a little message about how, hey, a good hunter takes breaks. I see that like once per game because I never close the game again. Just put my DS to sleep.
Oh, goodness. Also, on the stuff I've been playing this week, I have played a bunch more Watch Dogs 2. I'm like kind of deep into the third act now.
You reckon you're close to finishing it?
I reckon I can get it finished by next week.
Cool.
I think that's the point at which I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
That and a bit of Horizon.
Nice.
Yeah.
How are you finding it?
Yeah, it's really good, as it turns out. Like, I was doing one of the like early Act 1 quests.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to find the War Chief.
Yep.
Yeah,
Another
you remember
one.
that quest?
Yep.
And I honestly thought that might have been like side content, but no, it turned out to be like a main quest, and I was advancing the story in a meaningful way. When I thought, oh yeah, I'll just like go do this diversion. I need to get to Meridian, but I'll go do this little diversion. But yeah, I have been really, really enjoying that game. It has a really great story structure. Everything that I do in it feels just like great, and I'm looking forward to continuing to play it. I don't really have any like substantial thoughts because I haven't put a substantial amount of time into it this week. So
Fair enough.
that game is just gorgeous, though.
I'm really looking forward to returning to it with the new DLC when it's out.
Have you picked out? I think it's out now.
Is it?
Yeah,
I don't pay enough attention to this shit.
I'm pretty sure the Frozen Wilds is out now.
I believe it is out.
Because I just ask you every week when we do the recording, when's this coming out? I'm really looking forward to returning to that game when I get it, because the DLC came out 2 days ago.
Yep.
Or probably yesterday here, because who cares about our dates?
I think like more and more companies have been getting better about doing like actual midnight releases for us.
Yeah, but still, they never say. Well, I don't feel like I have noticed them specifying a time zone when they say it's like releasing this time GMT or whatever, so we can calculate what time it is here. That would be really nice to see.
Right.
On top of not, referring to seasons when they only apply to half the world.
For sure. Like, just use quarters. Like, Q1, Q2,
Right.
Q3, Q4.
Or months, if you don't like
or
quarters.
months, yeah.
I mean, like,
can't be that precise,
I
sure.
can see the reason why you do that, and it's like it feels like it's business talk. You feel like it's the sort of thing that you like tell your investors, like, oh yeah, we're launching the next Call of Duty in Q3 2018.
I guess it also gives
But,
you
like-
like a wiggle room of like 3 months.
Yeah, but so months if you can. If you can't, just say early, mid, or late, honestly, because that's the same for everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
We all use that same calendar when we're looking at release dates.
Even that's relative, though. I guess if you like maybe turn that into a 4-month window, so like early 2018 is like January to April.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Mid 2018 is May to September, and then whatever. Point is 4-month windows.
Yeah.
But even then, like that, I'd almost prefer the 3-month window. And,
Oh no, I would, but if they don't want to use quarters,
yeah, but like there's
just
no
anything
way
but
to-
seasons.
Is there
kind
a
of
way
what
to
I'm
make
saying.
it sound like less businessy? That's my question.
I just wish it wasn't so North
I don't know how to
America
answer that
centric.
question.
Is just my
Yes,
my deal.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, totally.
100%.
I think I like gushed about it when Destiny 2 came out, and I was on a podcast around then. But the fact that they did a staggered release was amazing to me. That we actually
What
got to
happened
get
there?
it on the day it said it was coming out, and I think we got it like 12 hours before.
Oh right, so they didn't say it's released on the 7th, so we get it on the 8th.
Yeah,
kind of
it was
deal.
actually
No, yeah,
came
like
out on the day.
that's what I'm saying. I think more games have been going kind of towards that model, just like, hey, it'll release at midnight in your time zone.
That's the ideal, right?
Yeah, it totally is. Like Destiny definitely released midnight in our time zone. Call of Duty released
Awesome.
midnight in our time zone.
Maybe it's just the games that I've been playing when they get released that I haven't noticed that.
Maybe, yeah.
It's like all a conspiracy against me. It's all about me, too.
I mean, naturally. You want to know a game I've been thinking about recently?
What's that?
I don't know. I don't know if either of you are going to be familiar with this game, but I've been thinking about a game recently called Company of Heroes.
I
know of
heard
it.
of it, but kind of dismissed it as, oh, it's another RPG, another FPS.
It's actually an RTS.
Okay.
It's
In that case, I'm probably not thinking of it, but the name sounds fairly generic, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a World War II era real-time strategy game. I've been thinking about it kind of recently because mostly because of the release of Call of Duty World War II.
Right.
I've been kind of curious about going back to Company of Heroes because my only experience with that was with the multiplayer aspect of it, which I played about 8 hours of.
Okay.
And I've been kind of curious as to like how that game handles narrative because it does have an actual kind of campaign. Plus it has some like cool systems. Like it's an RTS that has like a cover system for your soldiers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like you have to like move your soldiers into cover, and then they have an advantage when shooting from cover. So as someone comes by, they'll react by opening fire, and if they have cover, they'll have a defense and attack advantage.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting. I haven't thought about it in a while, but I have been thinking about maybe diving into that again. Yeah.
How old is it?
2006.
Oh, so quite old.
Yeah, it's more than a
11
decade
years.
old at this point. It doesn't really show its age is the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm looking at screenshots of it right now. The models look a little bit low poly, but that's about it. It doesn't really like it's nothing that I wouldn't kind of expect for a real-time strategy game. These games are not usually the most like graphically complex.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, that's just like a tangent that I went off of.
That's cool. It's not a game I played. It might actually be that I've heard of it and dismissed it as a first-person shooter, even though it's not.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think when I see games with names like that, I just think another World War II shooter. I'll pass.
Yeah, that
it's
makes
just not
sense.
something that excites me. Do we have anything in the inbox this week?
We do not have anything in the inbox this week. If you want to send us questions, video game related or not, PauseCastShow@gmail.com.
And if you're in the Twitch chat, chuck them in.
Yep, absolutely. Let's get those questions going if you've got them for us.
What are some games that people are looking forward to coming out, considering like most of the big ones have already come out?
Yeah, like that's the thing. Is most of the big games of the year are kind of like already out, and there's a lot of them, huh?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's anything big on people's like on the horizon for people.
I mean, like, there was almost literally the way you just described
Horizon,
it.
right.
It was released yesterday. So, like, sort of, but I guess not. I'm looking forward to getting it.
Right. I guess probably Monster Hunter World for you.
Oh, yes, no, definitely. Sorry, I was thinking only just this year for some reason. Yeah, that's the next big one for me, I think. This is a DLC, not a whole new game. I'm still hoping I'll put a bunch of time into it, but Monster Hunter World is the next big game I expect to really get my teeth into. And, historically, I have gotten really into most of the games, like 150 hours plus per entry in the series, so...
Yeah, jeez.
That's going to be a big deal for me.
Do you happen to read the... There was a piece that went up on Polygon. I'll link it in the show notes for anybody who's interested. But there was a piece on Polygon that was about a total newbie to the series who saw it for the first time this year at E3 and got some hands-on time with it. And they were like, oh, I need to play more of this.
I think I did read that one, yeah.
Yeah, and so
that was the one where they were recommended the longsword when they played the preview of Monster Hunter World, right?
Yeah. They actually went to, like... Polygon received an invite for someone to go play Monster Hunter World, and this person who had just been introduced to the series was like, "Oh, I need to, I have to go do this." It's one of the women on the Polygon show. I think I could be wrong about this, and I need to go look up the article real quick, but I believe it's Chelsea.
I think it's Chelsea. That's the name I had in my head.
Let's see. I'm just finding this article real quick.
Yeah.
Yep, Chelsea Stark. So yeah, Chelsea Stark at Polygon spent 14 hours with Monster Hunter Worlds as a total newbie, just trying to like piece together this game for the first time, and she had a blast. And
That's
like
really good,
the
'cause
game
it's-
is way more accessible than any of the past entries.
Accessibility to new players is something that I think Monster Hunter's struggled with.
Yeah,
and it's really hard for me to evaluate as someone who, like I said, has played like hundreds of hours in the previous ones. So it's really good to hear that it's going to be a good entry to jump into.
I think we have actually talked about that on the show. In fact, the like accessibility of Monster Hunter as a series is a problem. Yeah, Chelsea had a blast. She modeled her Palico to look like her real life cat named Vegas, which is super cute. This is like it's such a cute detail. I'm really really interested in Monster Hunter World, and there's a good likelihood I'll want to pick this up as well, because a Monster Hunter game that I can play on a proper console with visuals that look as good as these, like I'm pretty into that.
Yeah.
Pretty into that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to. There's an open beta in December, I believe, and I'm really looking forward to that because I haven't really got to try one before. I think I played a demo of one on 3DS, but like I think coming from console, I wasn't super looking forward to like putting in 150 hours on a tiny screen. So I think I'd never.
Yeah.
Plus the accessibility issue, so I'd be really keen to try out the demo.
Here's an idea.
Mm-hmm.
When that demo is out, maybe we could all play it together?
Yeah, I mean, my flatmate's got a PS4, so I should be able to get access to it through that.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I'll be buying my own once the game is out, because I'll be playing it with my flatmate, and we can't do that on the same
Yeah,
console,
exactly.
But, well, there's a beta.
Yeah, if we can play the beta together, yeah, that would be... I think that'd be maybe like a fun after show when that is running, or like maybe just like a weekend stream. We can like sit down and we can all play Monster Hunter World.
Do you know when that is?
I'll have a look.
No precise dates, right? Like I'm pretty sure it's just
vaguely December, I think.
Is as far as we know.
Okay.
PS4 exclusive.
Because if it's too late in December, I won't be around a PlayStation.
From the 9th to the 12th.
Oh, yeah, sweet.
It will include 3 different quests that can be played either cooperatively, online, or solo.
And I'm guessing they'll have pre-selected sets of equipment that you choose from. That's what they did in the last demo they did.
Yeah, I
the most
imagine,
recent
because
game.
like there's no way that you'd be dropped into some of these hunts with beginner gear.
No,
I imagine
and-
there'll
and
also be, similar to other betas, a beginner, intermediate, and hard hunt.
Yeah, I expect you're right. And they want to streamline it so you don't spend ages picking your gear or whatever as well.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Whereas if you want the true Monster Hunter experience,
Oh yeah, like you gotta go for the hardcore, and then you also have to get into the part where you're just like making your own gear.
and then someone forgot to eat, so you abandon the quest and try again.
Yep. Yeah, that's legit actually.
Yeah.
So it sounds like kind of like the hunts in The Witcher 3, but turned up to 11. Like having to really prepare beforehand and make like...
Well, like, here's the thing about Monster Hunter, like, I don't know if you realize this yet, Ash, but like, those hunts are like a 40-minute boss fight.
Yeah. I just meant in terms of like, do you have to prepare like potions and salves and antidotes and
Yeah,
stuff?
so typically you'll take in basically the same equipment each time. You know, you've got your your set of healing items you take in each time, and stuff to make more of them because you only hold so much for stack. You might take certain things to get rid of stat debuffs depending on what you're fighting. You might take different buffing equipment. or different traps or bombs or something if you know that this certain thing has a particular weakness. Like there's a couple of monsters that you can, or at least one monster that you can trick into eating bombs, which is very effective against it, whereas you might not take them against other ones. Sometimes it's like, well, this weapon is a really good fit against this monster, but this one isn't. For example, if you're really trying to cut something's tail off, someone really needs a cutting weapon because you can't bash its tail off with a hammer. Or, you know, if you think, oh, I know this monster's moveset really well, I can follow its head and knock it out, I'll use a hammer. So
Right.
you don't need to do a whole lot of item prep. Generally, it's specific sets that you'll just take maybe a slightly modified item set each time. Yeah.
You'll usually have to do a little prep in terms of, like, you'll go eat a meal and get your buff. If you're using a ranged weapon, you'll have to make sure that you have the appropriate type of ammo.
Oh, of course. Actually, that's something I never have to consider.
If you're going for captures, you have to make sure that you have the appropriate equipment for that, too.
Yeah.
Right.
The eating is, you get buffs to your maximum health and stamina, and some other little buffs as well, if you eat a meal before the quest. If you don't get those buffs, so you'll actually have less maximum health and stamina when you're going in there, which is not ideal.
Yeah.
And there are items that can buff them, but, you know, the meal is practically free.
Yeah. I think Final Fantasy 15 had a similar sort of system.
Oh, yeah, it had its meals too,
Yeah.
eh?
Did you end up playing that?
Yeah.
I played like half a dozen hours of it, I think.
Right. Never really connected.
I got up to the open world and then kind of got overwhelmed.
Yeah. That's fair. I think Jessica needs to finish it too, don't you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm in Altissia, but, like, if I'm gonna do it, I just need
Don't
to,
say
like...
start again.
I need to! I need to!
It's your ammo.
Yeah, I know it's my MO, but, like, listen. That's how I do. It ultimately makes games better sometimes. Like, I think I've told the story about how I got frustrated while playing Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess with a couple of the puzzles when I was, like, way younger. And so I was like, oh, fuck this. And I just restarted the whole game. Because I enjoyed the hell out of that game. But yeah, like, that part was really frustrating me, and it felt like I was never going to get it. So I was just like, okay, fuck this. I restarted it, I came back, I had no trouble with that section afterwards, and I got to just really enjoy that game in a different way. So, like, restarting games is sometimes really good for me. I feel like I would probably get some benefit out of the new stuff that has come along to Final Fantasy 15 since I played it last.
Right.
What sort of stuff is that?
There's a few kind of story-related patches.
Okay.
There's some weird, like, crossover stuff with Assassin's Creed Origins, a game I've also played a little bit of. I heard a lot of talk before about the introduction to Assassin's Creed Origins and how that intro is, like, total dog shit. I was not prepared. It's bad.
It's not great. No.
No.
They drop you right in the middle of it, right?
Yeah. It opens up fucking in media res, and it immediately just feels like you've missed 30 minutes of cinematics. Like, that's kind of the scale at which it opens. Is it just, like, I'm missing so much context that I have no idea what any of this is. I'm hearing names being thrown around, like the Heron, the Ibis. Like, I don't know what any of these people are or what they did, but I'm killing them, I guess.
I mean, that can work well in some storytelling settings, but it's really hard when you're given agency but have no idea what's going on. So how do you make your decisions?
Yeah, and especially when this is a situation where this is supposed to be like an origin story for the entire Assassin Order, hence the name Assassin's Creed Origins. And then it fails to set up the origin of its character or make me give a shit about him.
Yeah.
Well, like, do they go on and do that afterwards?
It just it feels poorly handled. It's not like a criticism of like the in media res technique or anything like that. It's just
No.
it's done in a very
Right.
ineffective way.
Actually, that reminds me. So I watched the new Thor movie, and they had a trailer for Assassin's Creed Origins, and I was sitting next to my brother who has played it, and he looked at me and he goes, "That was not the voice actor from the game. They just picked someone with a really big voice." But like, it was clearly meant to be that character. Like, they were, using first person describing that stuff, but it was just a completely different voice.
Weird.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's very pretty.
Also, apparently there's a secret option in the menu to turn their facial hair back on or something.
Yes. Yeah, I found it yesterday. It's in the it doesn't tell you. It is completely secret. If you press like L2 and triangle, I think, you can change your hair, and R2 and triangle, and you can change your beard.
Huh.
Just like real life.
It's such a weird... I hope they unhide that or make it more clear that you can do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was just like a debug thing that was left in by accident, but like that's a cool feature.
Yeah.
It's like how there was sort of a glitch in, I think, Revelations, where you could get your hood down or your hood up. I can't remember which one was default, but the non-default one. So my brother would always do that. It was like you had to go and start a certain mission and then cancel it, and his hood would remain down, and you could just play with his hood down or something.
Some of them had
That's
had a cool thing where like it would be down always until you went into stealth, and then they'd pull it on.
Yeah, they've changed it a few times how it works, but in the early games it was like, no, you always wear a hood. That's how you don't stand out. You're the only person wearing a hood. No one notices.
It is kind of funny. Like in the original, you had like you could blend in with, I guess they were priests that like look quite a lot like you, and you're like, okay, that's pretty inconspicuous. And then like the courtesans weren't particularly inconspicuous.
No, it's like they draw attention to themselves, and you're just standing in the middle, so no one sees you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. Assassin's Creed has had a wild history, huh?
Yeah.
What was I was gonna mention something. There was something that like...
You're talking about how it dropped you in the middle of everything. It didn't make you give a crap about the character or where they came
there
from.
was that, but also like it's really pretty. It's got some interesting and weird combat that I'm not very good at yet, but I'm gonna figure that out.
Have you got like a favorite weapon you've found or anything?
I have a spear that I'm kind of digging right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of into the spear.
I found one last night that was... I don't know what weapon type it is. It looks like a giant paddle, but metal. And it's a really, really heavy weapon. And its heavy attack actually has a parry built into it. So if you time it properly, you can parry and then follow up with a giant, like basically one-hit kill attack on any small enemy.
Yeah, there's just like...
That's pretty neat.
There's like whack, like parrying and like... weird Dark Souls like combat. I looked at the pacing and the animation locks and stuff on this, and I was like, this feels very kind of Dark Souls light. And then the combat itself is actually like very, very similar to Dark Souls. It's weird, and then it has that like much faster pacing, I think, of a game like For Honor.
It's a lot more forgiving than Dark Souls, like...
Oh, certainly much more forgiving, but like...
What isn't?
Yeah, fair.
I mean, the unforgivingness of Dark Souls is kind of like... it's kind of baked into the design, and it's kind of intentional.
Oh, absolutely.
I thought about that a little bit today, actually, just like how cool Dark Souls' trial and error stuff is again. Like, that stuff is really, really fascinating. It's an interesting kind of like... It's an interesting circumvention of kind of the loops of most games, but it also takes like... It takes a checkpoint system and then kind of adds an evolution to it. Yeah, you died, and there is systemic impact there.
It treats death as a teaching moment rather than a failure.
Yeah, exactly. Like that, I think that's probably the most valuable lesson that anybody looking to like learn any game design thing from Dark Souls could pull would be to like look at ways that you can treat death as a like death in a game as a not a failure state necessarily, but as a teaching moment. Because Dark Souls is kind of all about loops. When you reach your bonfire or checkpoint, um, you'll then proceed to the next area and you'll try different things and you have the opportunity to learn. And if you die to something, then there is the systemic impact I mentioned. Like you lose your quote humanity and you become a hollow of yourself unless you restore that. You lose all the stuff that you were carrying, like all the souls that you were carrying, all your currency, but you have the chance to go get it back. You have one shot at it, and it requires that you remember, oh yeah, so this thing happened here, so if I need to be prepared for this enemy here, here, and here, and it's that loop, like that trial and error loop that makes that the design of those games so appealing. And I think one reason people are kind of put off from Dark Souls in general is one, the community, the like get good garbage toxicity of that community. Two, the atmosphere of the original Dark Souls is not like good.
Sorry, you cut out there.
It's the atmosphere of the original Dark Souls is not good.
How do you mean?
Atmosphere is good. The aesthetic of the original Dark Souls is not like something that is immediately as appealing as even Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 have like much more appealing and interesting aesthetics to start them out. Where Dark Souls 1
the first one, so I don't really have any.
Dark Souls 1 kind of feels very like plain and unfriendly and much more confusing than the introductory sections to
Do you mean like Dark Souls 1 is too like literally dark and not like vibrant enough, or
I think that's something that has thrown people off.
Right.
Like I don't think it's bad personally, nor do I think that like this is the wrong aesthetic choice to make. But that the aesthetics of Dark Souls 2 and 3 were inherently more interesting.
Right.
It's also, I think those were, at least Dark Souls 3 is a little bit less confusing, because once you get to Firelink Shrine, there's one place you can go. It kind of funnels you along in a much more friendly way than Dark Souls 2 and 1 do, because those games give you a hub, and then tell you, okay, go wild. You don't really know where to go other than like exploring, and that can be really intimidating for some players as well.
Yeah, I think Dark Souls 1 was particularly tough in that aspect because like you could go into the underground like catacomb place.
Oh yeah, and you don't want to go there.
No.
No, yep.
It's like the first place I found, I'm like, oh, this is literally at Firelink. This is probably where I go. No.
That's right, because it says there's 2 bells you need to ring, and kind of implies you can do both of them. And also you can go straight to a high-level area through the cemetery, right? Yeah. So you can very easily go to somewhere it's like, no, you're not meant to go here yet. Like, sure you can, you'll just die.
Yeah.
It's interesting thinking about this. I think all the stuff that you were talking about, Jess, about dying being a teachable moment and stuff, I think it's stuff that Shadow of War tries to do, but it's dying in that game is fun, but it's bloody hard to die. Like, their highest difficulty is little description text says death is guaranteed, and I've been playing on that difficulty pretty much the whole time. I think I've died twice. Like, it still doesn't feel hard enough that you get a lot of that, because a lot of the content is kind of locked behind the player dying. Like, that's how you get the normal orcs to become captains, and that's how a lot of the history between you and the other orcs arises, is when they kill you. But if you don't die a lot, if the game isn't hard enough for you to die a lot, that doesn't happen that often, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, right.
There actually is like an article on Polygon that was published today, I believe, which is linked in the Twitch chat now. And the headline is, Shadow of War might be more fun if you're terrible at it.
Oh yeah, that was published on Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay. Yeah, so like...
Well, this sounds like exactly what I was just describing.
Yeah, it's exactly what you were just describing. Like, this game, the Nemesis system is way more interesting if you can actually die, and it's very hard to die in these games because they're much easier than I think the developers may realize. To be clear, if you have kind of the experience of playing this sort of game, if you don't necessarily, if you're like relatively new to games and you pick this up like, oh yeah, it's a Lord of the Rings thing, I'll pick that up. Just because you're like looking for something to play. Or if you just don't have like a high skill level, just, it happens. People don't all have the same skill level. That might make that game way more interesting. And I think that like falls back to my criticism of like my experience with that first game with Shadow of Mordor was you became so powerful so fast that it was then hard for me to actually die. And then that created a problem with the Nemesis system where nothing interesting was going on anymore. And so that game then rated poorly with me because I was like too good at it.
It's something they should be able to handle with difficulty levels, but I feel like they just don't have one that's high enough for people who are familiar with that combat system and have played a bunch of it. Because it's in other games as well. You might have already been familiar with it from the Arkham games.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird to think that, like, it's possible to be too good at a video game. Like, normally, I guess, like, normally the way that we think about video games, we think about, like, or at least I would think about like esports and stuff. Games like Call of Duty, games like Overwatch, games like Dota. There's always something that you can kind of be doing to improve the game and like make yourself better at it. There's not really a point where you can become too good at it.
The failure
you can always learn.
Oh, sorry, you cut out and I didn't realize you were still talking.
You can always just still learn from that stuff. But then when it comes to single-player games, and a single-player game with a system like this, which is reliant on death, it then becomes possible to be too good at it, where the game then becomes uninteresting because you're not dying. And so then you have to do the not fun thing of just like letting yourself die if you want to get the full breadth of the experience. And, like, that feels weird, and it's not fun to do. Yeah. It's just like, I'm going to throw myself into this horde of orcs, and they'll fuck me up, and, one of them will become a captain. Great. That's not entertaining at all.
I think it's this big story element to it. The reason why dying in Shadow of War is fun, and why it can be fun in Dark Souls, and why losing can be fun in games like Dwarf Fortress, is because it makes an interesting story. It's kind of like if you're reading I'm obviously thinking of books. If there's a non-interactive medium, then often a story is driven and made interesting by an antagonist, right? If it's a very open game though, where you've got a lot of control, like Shadow of War, where there are story missions, but most of the time you'll just be fighting random orcs, then it kind of relies on your failure to drive that antagonism. So if you're too good, there's not enough antagonism, it doesn't get as interesting because of that, because there isn't anything driving those player-made stories.
Middle Earth is a weird game. I still have a lot of like weird feelings about that game. Just like in general. Do we have anything else we want to hit up, or should we wrap up?
Well, what are you looking forward to playing?
That's a good question. I am looking forward to... I think I'm going to try and really finish Watch Dogs 2 this week.
Yeah?
And then more Horizon, and more Animal
Good.
Crossing.
Nice. Aha.
Those are gonna be my choices. How about you, Ash? What are you looking forward to playing this week?
Probably more Assassin's Creed Origins. Finishing Resident Evil Hard Mode. Potentially Elder Scrolls Online with you two.
We'll see how that goes.
See how that goes. PUBG.
PUBG.
More PUBG. Trying to get better. Yeah, I think that's mostly it. Battlefront 2's out soon, isn't it?
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right.
God damn it.
That's a Star Wars one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Star Wars one. Ash, would you mind asking Mark?
Mark, what are you looking forward to playing this week?
I think I'm definitely going to play more Sims. I think that is going to become my podcast.
Really?
Game. Yeah. You say that like it's surprising. Do you not like the game?
And here's the thing. I know maybe one other person that plays The Sims. At all. And
I got the first Sims for my birthday when I was a kid, and a couple of the expansions to it. So I've kind of got I haven't played it all my life, but I've had it there for quite a while and just have gone back to it every few years. And I've always enjoyed it. I think I've got every main entry, although it's been a long time since I bought any of the expansions because I just don't really like that model of how they do things.
Does the Rosebud cheat still work?
Oh, I don't know any cheats anymore. I can look them up. I'm sure there's still a way to get infinite money or whatever, so you can just build a house.
What was the Rosebud cheat?
In the original Sims, I think it gave you 100,000 or 10,000 monies, simoleons or whatever.
Okay.
So, if you just wanted to build a house, instead of having a Sim do a job for ages, then you could just use that.
Right.
Are there goals in Sims 4? Is there a...
Yeah, so the way it works is the needs aren't the main drivers anymore. Now Sims have got different emotional states. And at any time, they've got 3 little goals they want to achieve. And it might be, I'm near this person I'm friends with. I want to talk to them. And 2 of those are just based on things like what they're near, what they need in their home or something. And then the third one is based on their emotional state. So if they've just embarrassed themselves, they might want to go hide in their bed. If they're really happy, they might want to talk to a friend on the phone, or meet someone new. If they're angry, I haven't had any angry Sims yet. I don't know, they might want to go stomp on something. And you get points that you can then spend on magic ass weird rewards. But yeah, they do have constant little goals that you can ignore or you can follow, and it's a fun little thing to drive interactions that you might just normally let them do themselves. I suppose it's like, I want to tell a joke instead of just letting them talk, so it keeps you interacting with it as well. And they've got aspirations as well, so you might want to oh crap, I can't remember what they are, but it's like get a big family, get really rich, be really smart kind of aspirations that have got more specific longer term goals.
Okay, so
in with them.
Does it, I'm just trying to get a sense of it, does it feel like it has campaign elements, or it's still fairly free form?
Oh, no. Each Sim's aspiration is kind of like their life goal.
Right.
And you might try to work them towards that. But, that's completely different as you go from one Sim to the other. They're independent of each other. So I wouldn't say it feels like it has a campaign to any extent.
Okay.
And of course you can drop away from a family you've made and go start another one. And that one you made might just continue on their own while you're playing.
Huh.
And you can go visit them or have them visit you. So you can make your whole neighborhood.
Right. I think for the Sims games, I have always had a similar situation as with the Animal Crossing games of I approached it with the wrong perspective of how do I win? Whoa.
Right.
So I think my favorite Sims games were probably, I don't know how they rate within the canon of Sims games. They might be considered the bad ones, but the ones for PlayStation 2.
I don't know which ones those would have been. Would it have been Sims 2 maybe?
I think it was one that was just called The Sims and one that was called The Sims Busting Out.
Oh, yeah, that was one of the expansions to the Sims.
Oh.
So every main entry has had a ton of expansions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of their model.
Right.
So I'm talking half a dozen or more expansions.
Okay.
Each often $60 kind of expensive. I think The Sims 4 is just about to have a Cats and Dogs expansion come out, but I'm kind of not bothering with any of the expansions because they're expensive.
Okay. Yeah, the PlayStation Sims were all about like you'd start off in your mom's house or something. You're living with your mom, and it's like not a great house. And as you
That's interesting.
like progressed and made and like achieved certain goals for each of the houses, you'd move on to someone else's house, and then you eventually, I think the end goal was like living in a mansion and stuff.
See, that's one of the aspirations you can have is I want to live in a really cool house. But so Sims 3 in one of their expansions, they had a university expansion where they added a new sort of age stage of young adulthood, which has remained on in The Sims 4. So, you can start from baby and go through toddler, child, teenager, young adult, elderly. And, when you're a kid, yes, you have to do your homework and shit like that. And sort of, so that you get different goals through the different life stages. And you can tweak the aging to make it faster or slower, turn it on and off. Yeah, it's just relaxing. You can honestly just sit there and let them do their thing and not interact with it at all and see what they do. So, like, it's quite nice. Like how I've talked about City Skylines before, and that, it's got goals, but you can ignore them. You can turn off the timer if you don't want any aging to go on and stuff. So it's a nice, relaxing game that I feel good multitasking in.
Yeah, I think, like, it's funny you mentioned City Skylines. Jess can probably attest to the way that I would play that game.
Destroy everything.
Yeah, games that lack a campaign and have more of a free play aspect, I tend to get. I maybe play in a sociopathic way, which is maybe not great. But I just remember playing the original Sims as a kid, like on PC.
Did you take the letters out of all the pools?
Yeah, so I'd make a family of 8 people because that was the amount, the most you could have in a family. Right. Buy a land that was as flat as possible. Build a pool. Take out the ladders, and then do this with multiple families. So I eventually had an entire lot full of gravestones.
Oh
God! Why are you like this?
I was bored because I would.
Why am I dating you? Why are you like this?
I mean, I would make a mansion and like I'd build a really, really cool house. I'd be like, I've done it. Now I can just play the game. Oh, okay.
I mean, some people play the game as just building houses, and that's fine. It's something you can do to play The Sims.
Yeah.
You don't need to make any Sims. You can build houses. That's fun.
Yeah.
A house can just be 3 Sims and 30 gravestones.
Yes.
From all the ladders you removed. You monster.
I mean, I wouldn't always remove ladders. Sometimes I just like put a bunch of tables around a stove.
I'm pretty sure that, I don't know which Sims games, but I'm pretty sure there have been ones where you could like get someone near death, and then when the Grim Reaper shows up, have someone else go and romance them.
Yeah, you can actually like try to plea with the Grim Reaper in Sims 4, I believe.
No, I'm not just talking about playing with them. I'm talking about like flirting with them.
Oh, I think that was like a bug in The Sims 4.
That sounds right.
That's pretty fun.
There are a lot of feature bugs in Sims games like that.
True.
The patch notes are always really fun to read.
Oh God.
Yeah. I think
they had a recent one where it's like when a vampire sim picks up a baby, the baby will no longer disappear in mirrors.
Sure. Yeah. Crabsolutely.
Just like real life.
Just like real life, yeah. As soon as babies, like, I mean, I wonder how easy it would have been to render that floating baby. Probably very.
Oh, they probably just made it one entity or something, and then suddenly, the invisibility flag is applied to the whole thing, whatever. Like, you can see often how these bugs have happened, but it still makes for entertaining reading when you think of it in sort of a real life context.
God, Sims.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to playing more of The Sims.
Sure, yeah.
I'll probably play more of Dying Light the Following, and if we can find a time when the 3 of us will play it, I'll play more of Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, let's see if we can set something up this weekend.
Yeah, I think because what did I say? I was a Breton didn't I? I'm pretty sure we're all in the same covenant, so we'd start in the same area.
Okay, because Jess and I have both got orc characters.
Right.
Nice. Yeah, we should all be in the same area then, I reckon.
Sweet.
Cool. All right. Thank you for listening to episode 63 of PauseCast. If you like the show and wanted to support it financially, you can do so by supporting us on Patreon. Patrons get little bonuses every month, and we just really appreciate your support through that.
We really do.
Thank you to our patrons. And I'm pulling the list, and I'm pulling the list, and I'm pulling the list. Dun, 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 dun. Thank you to our patrons. Sammy, Mary, Allerdrain, Noah Holmes, Residoke, Ashe, Laminated Moth, and PD for their continuing support of the show.
Thank you.
It means a lot to us. Thank you so much. We are on Twitter, at PauseCast Show on Twitter. And you can send us emails to the inbox each week, pausecastshow@gmail.com. Get your questions read live on the air. It doesn't have to be related to video games. You can just send us questions there. Again, pausecastshow@gmail.com. We stream the show every week on Twitch, live.bird.school, Thursdays at 8 p.m. New Zealand time. If you're on iTunes, give us a rating or review. Helps us a lot. Helps people find the show. We really appreciate it. All right. Mark, where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter at HonestUniverse, and I write a blog as well, though not about video games, at honestuniverse.com. And I just recently put up a guide to the Official Information Act at oia.nz.
Ashe, where can people find you on the internet?
On Twitter at TheQueerestDear.
And you can find me online at bird.school. You can find me at maximumgun.org, where I stream. Next stream will probably be on Saturday. And that'll be at 1 p.m. New Zealand time. If you want to tune in for that, it'd be great. I try to have the show out before then, so hopefully this will be out before then.
They'll be listening to it and go, oh crap, I got to switch.
I missed it. All right. And that is going to do it for us this week. Thank you to Leon for the use of our theme song, Honey Milk Island. You can find Leon's music and download some of it for free at soundcloud.com/LEYAWN. That's it for us. Bye.
Bye.